The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hello, my name is Edward Kasten from Making It Happen. Alongside me here now, I have Fritz Rudy. He's an amputee from Oshkosh. Thanks for joining me, Fritz.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
So, how many years have you been an amputee?
I've been an amputee since 2013, so 5 years this year.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened? How you became an amputee? And
my situation was I got in a motorcycle accident.
Okay.
I was T-boned on my motorcycle in 2012. After that time, they tried to repair my leg for almost a full year until July of the following year, when they had repaired my leg, but I couldn't walk on it. So we decided to go with an amputation to retrieve some of that quality of life and mobility.
did you ever feel any anger after that, or how did you find out? Because you know how when some people get into an accident, they don't remember what happened. They don't have much memory. Did you ever feel any anger, or who told you that, Fritz, you might lose your leg here? And
actually, I was cognizant through the entire accident, through my crash and everything. I didn't go into shock.
Because usually that's not normal. It's usually a person goes into shock and they forget, and
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't go into shock. I remember every second of the accident and after the accident until they got me medicated and under for some of my surgeries.
Was it at night or during the day?
It was middle of the day, 3:47 in the afternoon.
Were you wearing your helmet and stuff?
Wasn't wearing my helmet. I wasn't wearing any of my leathers, which is actually very rare for me. I had just got done working on my bike and I was taking it for a test drive.
And I'm sure you've gone on many rides before, and
I've been riding my whole life, yeah.
So, like you said, you were cognizant through the whole accident, and so you knew everything that was going on. What was going through your mind at that time when you had the accident? And did you know something was wrong, or did you know you got T-boned? And
as soon as I hit the concrete, I started going through a body check. And got to my leg, lifted my leg, and it was bad. And at that time, laying on the concrete, I knew for a fact I was going to lose my leg.
Yeah.
I came to grips with it almost immediately because it was bad. So they did their best. They did save it. I just couldn't walk on it. So
did you ever have a part where you're like, oh, I might not make it through this? Because when some people go through something tragic like that, oh, am I going to make it? How long am I going to be lying here?
Yeah, I mean, those things did. I was bleeding very severely. There was a femoral bleed.
How many units of blood did you lose through bleeding?
Well, I don't know how much they gave me through the surgeries, but the day after my surgeries, they gave me 8 units. So I was down. I was down quite a bit.
Yeah, because I think a body has 9 units, and
I'm not too sure. I mean, it was pretty bad. I was touching. I mean, people were there immediately.
Yeah.
So overall, I don't know as if my life was horribly in danger, but it was definitely in danger.
Were you able to call 911 on your own, or did somebody call for you?
No. As a matter of fact, a coworker lived right near where my accident happened, and he was first on the scene. His girlfriend called 911, and then through my pain, I also called out my wife's cell phone number to get a hold of her. And
I mean, how were you able to stay so focused? I mean, when a person goes through that, how are you able to maintain your focus,
I don't know. I've never gone into shock. I've had a couple bad breaks and things of that nature. I've never gone into shock. It's just I don't. Some people, when it gets bad, they get more focused.
Yeah. So when your coworker found you, what did he think? Did he like?
I never asked him what he thought. He's a fellow biker. His only job was there to give me some comfort, grab my hand, keep me focused, keep my eyes on him. So.
Now, which teams did you work with as far as getting your new leg, and like, what kind of procedures did you? How many different procedures did you have to go through?
Before I lost my leg, or
before you lost it.
Before I lost my leg, boy, 12, 13 procedures trying to save my leg.
So a lot of work went into it.
Yes, a lot of work.
So. And when did they decide that, we can't do anymore? Because,
they didn't really make the decision. The decision was mine and my wife's. After a certain amount of work was done, and that's all they could do. After a certain amount of time, I had gone to a former prosthetist, person who makes braces and so on and so forth, to design a boot to help me walk. And as it turns out, I would have been very restricted. I would have zero ankle movement.
Yeah.
And I asked a very specific question, which was, with no morals involved, mechanically speaking, would I be better off as an amputee? And that person, who had a lot of knowledge in prosthetics and in working with amputees, said absolutely yes. Mm-hmm. And that's what made my decision.
And then you decided to go that route, and
15 seconds later, I was up in the prosthetist, or up in the surgeon's office scheduling.
And I'm sure when a person goes through surgeries, and I can speak experience because my dad had like 9 surgeries because he had like 4 or 5 knee replacements in one leg, and they told him that he was going to lose his leg. But how scared were you going into surgery? Because you never know what's going to happen when you go into surgeries. You just
at times like that, I'm pretty calm going into surgery.
Okay.
I've always been calm. The day of, I might be nervous coming up, like the weeks coming up. I'll have some things going through my mind, but the day of surgery, I've always been very calm because there's absolutely nothing I can do. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, it's out of your control.
Exactly.
And how supportive was your wife through this whole process, and your family?
Oh, my family, my wife, I would not have made it as far as I have without my family. Not just my blood relatives, but my friends. I've had the same group of friends since early high school, and it's without them, I wouldn't be where I am. I mean, they have been supportive. They have been helpful, getting me to and from appointments when I couldn't get there myself. They've been emotionally supportive, both being a shoulder for me to cry on, because let's face it, hey, this is a pretty traumatic experience. Of course I cried.
Yeah.
But also, making fun of me, making sure that I'm keeping myself in check. So.
Well, I think you got to have a good sense of humor when you have a disability, because you got to be very flexible, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but by the way, how did you get your name, your nickname, Hob along Rudy?
Well, actually, that came right after my accident. Actually, before I lost my leg,
Okay.
My father came down immediately after my accident, and he came. When I came out of it the next morning, he was in my room, and that was the first thing. He's like, "What's up? Hop along." So
he was already joking around with you and
absolutely.
making it lighter. And,
yes, absolutely. Was given no quarter.
Were you surprised by your dad's sense of humor, or not so much?
No. I mean, that's what we do, and I think it's a pretty good Midwestern trait. Trying to be negative all the time is not gonna solve anything.
It's not gonna change things.
It's not gonna
either.
fix it. So just make light of it and move on. Deal with it.
How many different, to backtrack here a little bit, how many different prosthetics were you able to, did they have many for you to choose from before you chose this one particular one?
Absolutely. When you become an amputee, there are so many options for suspension systems, both above knee, below knee, all different levels of amputee, you know, even upper extremities. There's unlimited options as far as socket design, components, the foot, all the different pieces, and what holds the leg to you. I mean, there's...
Because like I said, my dad's going through this kind of same thing, and did they have to measure your stump and then...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. That's all part of the process.
They had to measure your stump. What else did they have to do?
The process starts with taking measurements. I mean, when you first become an amputee, they're going to put you into what's called a shrinker sock.
Okay.
It's just a compression stocking
Okay.
that fits over your leg to help start to shape the leg to what they need. And also it helps keep, it starts the shrinking process. Your muscles atrophy, and everything starts to shrink, so it helps to squeeze everything down and get that process going. From there, there's casting, where you go in and they, I don't know if you've ever seen Hollywood casting, where they, you know, cast people's faces.
Well,
and
I have to have my braces cast once in a while.
Absolutely.
So same
absolutely.
process?
It's the same process. They cast it, and then from that they make a mold of, you know, of your leg.
Okay.
And from there they can pull a plastic check socket over the top of it and start the fitting process.
Did you have any trouble with, you know, fitting, or did they do a pretty good job of fitting you? Like,
I've gone through many legs and many different prosthetists.
Okay.
It's a process.
How long does a prosthetic last?
A good prosthetic can last. It can last until you break it. Honestly, there are some components that you have to replace. The outer sleeves is just a silicone sleeve, and it can get holes in it.
Okay.
Things like that. The foot down here can break.
You know, I've never shown people my braces, but, you know, I have a plastic brace in here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does your prosthetic ever crack because of the cold weather or anything?
Carbon fiber generally doesn't.
Okay.
The plastic.
Just question.
Oh, no. The plastic, when we first start out, the first legs we get are plastic. And yeah, I've actually had them split.
Okay. Because actually it got so cold one time, my bottom of my brace cracked, just cracked like right down the center. My mom's like, I was walking in the catechism. She's like, you didn't crack your brace. Yeah, I did. I felt it. It got so cold outside. So.
You betcha.
So yeah. So there was many different options for you, and that's good that there was. And what's the price range on something? Is it pretty affordable, or, you know, or does insurance cover, you know?
Insurance is key for getting prosthetic components. For a below knee amputee, you're looking $20,000-ish for, after all is said and done, for all the components. I don't know out of pocket what that would be.
Okay.
You know, I'm assuming that, as we all know, you know, people who've been around the medical community, you know, if they have out of pocket, then they have insurance costs. I don't know what the out of pocket cost would be, but it's generally pretty expensive once you get all the components put together. Once you get above knee, you're talking anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 or more.
So where would you be without insurance?
I would probably, I don't know where I would be without insurance. I honestly don't. I'd find a way, have to find a way, because life doesn't stop.
I know. Speaking of life, how has this changed your life?
It's improved it.
It's improved it.
Absolutely, 100%. It has pushed me.
How so?
It has pushed me to improve myself, to change the way I look at things, to change my approach to life. Life is short, it's fleeting, and it can end at any time. So get out, do things, try new things, push yourself hard.
How were you before your accident?
I was still a hard worker, but I was in a rut. I'd go to work.
What kind of a rut?
I'd just a normal, you know, I didn't really have a lot of
Same old,
hobbies.
same old.
Same old, you know, I didn't have a lot of hobbies. I hunt, I fish, I go to work, I come home, I take care of my family, I play with my kids. But when I lost my leg, it opened up this new world. I've tried more things and I've done more things since I lost my leg. I've traveled the world. I've gone to Italy. I've picked up new sports. I've tried new things.
Would you ever done all this with a...
I can't see it. Honestly, I don't know. I doubt it because it was such a wake-up call that life is short. So,
we have some pictures here now of you doing your adaptive sports and doing like your bow and skiing. And let's talk a little bit about that skiing one. Where were you when that one?
That was actually at Trollhagen, which is over by the Minnesota border.
Okay.
That was for a Wiggle Your Toes event. Wiggle Your Toes is an organization that helps get prosthetic care for people who don't have it, and it also helps get people into adaptive sports.
Okay.
So it was a fundraising event, and this was a downhill ski race.
I want to try sit skiing sometime. You know, I don't know if you ever heard. You know what I'm talking
Absolutely.
about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this one, what were you doing in this one?
I'm a competition shooter. This was at a USPSA pistol match.
What got you interested in competition shooting?
I was sitting there. I saw something on probably Facebook or something.
Because I've seen you in videos where you're actually running with your leg and you're going around to different targets and you're going here and there. And
Absolutely. I saw it on a video and I'm like, you know what? That looks like fun. And that's, hearkening back to what I was speaking about earlier. I saw something that I wanted to try and I did it.
And where were you doing this when you were golfing?
Yeah, that was actually just recently. That was the Midwest Amputee Golf Association. That was their tournament, their championship down in Chicago. So
Okay.
that was.
Are you a pretty good golfer?
I used to be. I'll get it back.
Okay.
But that was my first time actually swinging a club in probably a decade. So even before I lost my leg.
I've been on the course golfing in my walker, or trying to golf in my walker. So
I have to look into a solo golfer.
do you think that would be better for me? Or?
A solo cart? Absolutely.
I mean, you mean just a cart where you ride and it takes you?
It's a lot like an electric scooter,
Yeah.
but it'll actually stand you upright,
Oh, really?
and you can swing one arm.
I'll have to try that sometime. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll have to work. I'll have to, keep in touch with you.
No, absolutely.
So, and this one, you're using a bow.
Yes, I'm an archer. I've been an archer my whole life, and I shoot league during the summertime, and then I also bow hunt during the fall.
Okay. Do you like? You said you've been a competitive archer your whole life. Did your dad teach you how to do archery?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
he got me into archery when I was 12. 12. So.
And then this one.
This was actually another shooting sport called three-gun,
Yeah.
which consists of 3 guns. This was at a major competition over in Minnesota, the Vortex Trigun, the Nordic Vortex Trigun. And that was my first major competition. It's a national level. It's where the top 1% shooters come out.
And how did you do at that?
Better than I thought I would, but I wasn't dead last, but it definitely showed me where I needed to work and practice.
Have you been to many competitions since?
Since then, not really. No, I've been to a couple local competitions.
Okay. And then we have one more. Is this Taekwondo or is
This
karate?
is actually,
Karate?
It's
or?
Hapkido,
Hapkido.
which is Taekwondo and Hapkido kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
They're both Korean martial arts.
Okay.
And Hapkido is a lot less of high-flying kicks.
Okay.
It's more hand movements and arm bars. It's excellent self-defense, and it's an excellent martial art.
Okay. So it's something I can. And then this one. This one's a really cool shot. Where were you standing when you did this one?
That was at the Grand Canyon. A friend of mine, I went out to the Amputee Coalition Conference. They have a national conference every year. And a friend of mine from Toronto, Canada, another amputee, picked me up from the airport. We were 4 hours away from the Grand Canyon. Neither one of us had ever been there, so we said, let's go.
How long did it take to walk up there and get there?
To that spot, it was not too far from, that was the north rim of the Grand Canyon, so we walked about 2 or 3 miles.
One question that I didn't have on my list is, how is your has your stamina increased since the accident? Like, do you get tired, more often, or?
After the accident, my stamina fell because I went from hospital bed to chair to hospital bed to chair.
Yeah.
My stamina fell off, but since losing my leg, my stamina has come back to beyond where it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be, because you're using a higher percentage of energy to actually take one step than an able-bodied person.
And has this tested your faith in God?
No, it strengthened it.
Strengthen it.
It strengthened it, I would have to say.
How so did it strengthen it?
Because he's not going to throw anything at you that you
they can't handle.
You can't handle.
Yeah.
You know, you don't find who you really are until you're pushed to the brink.
I always tell people, God doesn't give you what you can't handle.
Exactly. So. Humans don't find out what they're really made of until they're pushed to the edge. And when you get pushed to the edge of life, of pain, tolerance, of everything, you either break or you become out stronger. So
and you came out stronger.
That's the way I look at it.
That's good. Let's see. Do you ever get picked on? Picked on because of your leg, or does kids ask you questions?
Kids ask questions quite a bit, and I really enjoy when kids ask questions. I love it, even if they're awkward questions, because kids don't know. Yeah. And so some parents will quick grab their child. Oh no, don't say that. I encourage it, and I'll talk to the kids, and it's all about normalizing disability and how disability is viewed in society. And if the young kids feel comfortable around somebody who's different, mm-hmm. then that's going to hopefully propagate until when they get older, and they're not going to treat people differently.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your son's mentoring program that you came and spoke to your son's class? And
it was actually my daughter's class.
Or your daughter's class.
Yeah. The school system is doing a peer sensitivity training program,
okay.
Where they're going through the school in different classes, different age groups, talking to them about all different levels of disabilities, physical disabilities, mental disabilities, visual impairments, hearing impairments, all different kinds of disabilities, and teaching kids that these people with disabilities, people like you and I, mm-hmm. are just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And just because somebody's in a wheelchair doesn't mean that they're mentally impaired, or just because they're mentally impaired doesn't mean that they're not smart. Things of that. So trying to teach kids how to not assume things by looking at somebody's appearance or their disability. Mm-hmm. It was a great chance to get out there, and all the kids were asking some pretty great questions, and they got
Do you remember any questions they asked? Because some kids come up with some pretty darn good questions.
The first questions that almost everybody asks, how did you lose your leg, and what happened? And some of the kids, of course, because that's how kids' minds work, is that they want to know every detail of how the leg was lost. And I tried to refocus them on, well, that's one part of the story, but that's not the end of the story. That's the beginning of the story. Yeah. And that's the beginning of my new life.
Your beginning of your new chapter.
Exactly.
So, what would you say to somebody at home watching this, or somebody that's struggling, maybe going through this? What would you say to them as far as giving them hope or a message from you?
I would say reach out. Reach out to your community. The disabled community is strong. It's very strong, and with today's technology and social media and means of communications, if you're having a rough time, you're not alone. There are those of us out there, whether we have the same disability or not, we're family. Yeah. All of us, and we can lean on each other if we're having a hard time. And for those that are just starting their story or their travels as an amputee, or somebody who's just become mobility impaired. Yeah.
Because it can be quite life-shocking.
It can be. Going from being able to do whatever you want, get out of bed, and just go do whatever you want, to now you have to plan things ahead of time. It can be shocking. It does get better. It absolutely 100% gets better.
Today is my 1,412-day walking, and it's really opened up a lot of avenues for me that I wouldn't even know. But yeah,
exactly.
So, anyways, how has your kids dealt with this? And because we talked about your wife's support, but having a son and a daughter, and I'm sure they come up with different ideas, and stuff.
Both of my kids were pretty young. Obviously, this happened, 2012, so 6 years ago was the original accident. They had their moments of fear, seeing their father, their big, strong father, who's always been there, laid up in a hospital bed and then unable to walk for so long. But I think that overall, once the initial shock of seeing their father laid up wore off, they saw the strength between my wife and myself, and it's improved their way of looking at things. It's proven to them that even though things might get hard, you can still get things done.
So it's not only changed you, but it's changed them as a unit, because it might change their perspective as well.
Absolutely.
Because you don't just change the person, you change the whole family.
Absolutely.
So, with the remaining minutes here, what kind of things would you like to see, like, the ADA change? Because the ADA hasn't been updated in a while. I wanted to get your opinion on this.
I don't pay much credence to the ADA.
Okay. Because there's a lot of places that are not accessible yet that should be.
There are places that aren't accessible, but even places that become ADA compliant, the accessibility level is not. It's not enough. It's not enough for me. It's different for you in a chair. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, ADA compliance says that you have to have a ramp at this. People will put a ramp in, but they'll put it at too high of a degree.
And like I went to a pageant competition in Tennessee when I went on Walker, and I couldn't even hardly fit through the door in Tennessee for as far as a hotel room. So exactly,
and that's in hotels. I travel a lot, and the hotels have
they're not up to code like they should be.
They have disabled access.
I couldn't even take a shower because there was no bench for me to sit on.
They have disabled access rooms that are on the 3rd or 4th level that are as far away from the elevator as possible. But in an event of a fire, if you're on another level and you can't use an elevator.
Yeah, like in my apartment building, I'm on the 4th floor, so it's
right. Accessibility is.
What do you do?
It's a difficult thing. It's an ongoing struggle. You know that you've been in the battle a lot longer than I have. So it's. I think humans just need to realize that we are part of society.
We are, and sometimes I think that's forgotten.
It is, many times. So, I thoroughly agree.
Even with the Wounded Warriors, that
yes. No, absolutely.
So, well, thank you for joining me today, Fritz. And now this show is all about not giving up and finding a voice for the disabled in the community. As you heard from Fritz today, and as you heard from me, if you have a story idea, please reach out to me at edwardcastern@yahoo.com. Well, this is Edward Castern for Making Happen. We'll see you later. Thank you.